Hi everyone, I'm Melissa.
I'm Donna. I'm her mother.
I'm her daughter. And we're Seriously M&D. Welcome back to our channel. And this episode, my mom actually was just talking about the title for it.
Yes.
Go right ahead.
We're thinking it is seriously, we need to be serious. So the previous episodes all had a bit of lightness and silliness, and not saying that this won't, but this is a topic that we've waited to talk about under our subtopics, and this is health and wellness. And it's time that we need to talk about it because it's touched our family. It has touched our family for years. And we just thought, you know what? A friend of mine posted something on Facebook about mental health and wellness just recently, last week. And I said, oh, that's funny because Melissa and I are going to talk about that on our next episode. So here we are.
And so this is going to be a mental health awareness episode. We're going to touch on anxiety, depression, OCD, because like my mom said, these are things that our family has gone through. And I also wanted to say, if you're following us on Instagram, we started doing this 100-day devotional. So it's 100 days to brave. Sorry, my cat just jumped out here. But it's 100 days to brave. And the thing today was that
Just keep talking until Minnie drops.
Minnie's
She's going to knock. You'll see her tail. There we go. Okay, Minnie, come on, little kitty.
We started this devotional together, and we've actually been sharing it on Instagram. It's 100 Days to Brave, and I think my mom has the book right here. Just show it. It's from Target, reasonably priced. But so today's devotional is about being brave, and my mom and I were talking this morning about an instance when we needed to be brave. So I think this is a good instance to be brave because for a very long time, we both never talked about any of this stuff. I don't think with each other really. And it was just something that always seemed like a touchy subject and we didn't want to bring it up. And for me personally, I was ashamed of it. I was embarrassed. I didn't want people to judge me and I didn't want to be looked down upon. So I never talked about it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over some different things within each category, and then I was going to just share my testimony with you, so that in hopes that it can help you out in figuring out, what you're going through, and if you need help, and reaching out and asking for help. I think that's the biggest thing.
It is.
For us, if you need help, there are so many resources. And we're here to talk too, so let's get into it.
Okay, so the first topic we wanted to talk about was anxiety. And I went online and checked out some things. They said, and I'm going to look down at my notes, so if you see me looking down, don't think that I'm looking down because
we're human. We got to write things down
Yeah.
and we don't remember them.
So anyway, signs of an anxiety attack. Well, sweating, trembling, shortness of breath, choking sensation, chest pain, nausea, dizziness, and heart palpitations. I think about the same time when I talked in the episode about hair, and when I was starting to stress out with my job and my hair started to thin out and I started to lose my hair, I also had an anxiety attack and I didn't know it. I was at the gym. It was a Saturday. I remember it like it was yesterday. And I was on the elliptical machine and I wasn't going crazy hard or fast. Then all of a sudden I felt my heart beating and I'm thinking, what is going on? It's like it was beating rapidly, like after I would run hard. And I thought, okay, slow down. So I slowed it down and it kept beating. And I thought, okay, this isn't normal. So I got off that, went down, left the gym, and then I had to go to the bank. So I'm at Wells Fargo Bank and I'm in line and there are a few people in line in front of me. And then I started getting anxious. I'm like, okay, what is going on? Let's go. Why aren't these people moving? And it wasn't moving slowly. It was just me. And I thought, okay. So I got through and did my transaction. I went home and I said to my husband, something is weird. My heart's beating. I'm sweating, and it's not right. I thought maybe I was having a heart attack, and it was just crazy.
It's a scary.
Yeah, and
it's a scary experience.
So at the time, I don't know if I read somewhere, take an aspirin. And so I knew I had aspirin upstairs, and I'm not talking Tylenol or Advil, I'm talking aspirin, like Bayer aspirin. So I sent my son up to my room in the bathroom, and I brought an aspirin down, took the aspirin, and I was fine. So that was Saturday. Monday, I called my doctor, and I went in, and he was able to see me, and he said, Donna, the aspirin was like a placebo. It didn't do anything. You were having an anxiety attack. Do you want me to prescribe anti-anxiety medicine? I said, no. Haven't had one since, but it scared the you-know-what out of me. And I thought, oh my gosh. And some of the other information, some strategies for stopping an anxiety attack. Use deep breathing, when you're going through it. So when I was at the bank and I was getting flustered because the people in front of me were not moving fast enough, I guess I could have stopped and, okay, recognize you're having a panic attack. Close your eyes. Practice mindfulness. This is interesting. Feeling of texture. So if you're sitting down, you have jeans on, just stop and just rub your hands on your jeans just to get texture.
And I think to say, because I have had a few anxiety attacks in my life, and when you are having it, it is such an overwhelming feeling, and you have no idea what's going on. Like, say this to me for the longest time, and I am so bad at this when people will give me advice, but I would never listen. But people would say, you recognizing it is a big deal, and being able to calm yourself down, because once you realize that it is an anxiety attack, panic attack, and you start freaking out more, then it only gets worse. So I actually had almost panic attack probably like a month ago. My mom will remember this, but I didn't have gas in my car. I was getting off of the freeway, and my truck broke down, and I started getting like just freaked out. And then I realized, like, that's not going to help me. I need to figure this out, because it's never happened to me before. So I need to figure this out. I was able to calm myself down, breathe, take a second, assess my surroundings, and figure out what I needed to do to move forward.
Right. And one of the other strategies is find a focus object. Another thing that said, picture yourself in a happy place. This one I liked. It said, engage in light exercise, so walking or swimming, something like that. But keep lavender oil, the essential oil, on hand, and if you put it on your wrist and stuff like that, and just smell it. I know that I have lavender spray that I'll spray on my pillow at night, because they say it helps you to get into sleep a little easier and fall into that beginning sleep.
I agree with the lavender oil.
Yeah.
It's very calming. If you can keep that like on hand with you in your car or in your bag, I think that's something great to have, just because that, for me personally, that has helped me a lot to calm down.
Some triggers for anxiety, and these you're going to say, Donna, really? Do you need to read these, because we know this? Okay, stress at work, of course. Stress from school, stress in personal relationship, whether it be marriage or something like that. Financial stress, emotional trauma, stress, maybe a death, of a loved one. Stress from a serious medical issue, maybe side effect of medication. So these are all triggers that might...
Stress with children.
Yeah, might bring on anxiety. Anyway.
But I think the thing with that is that there is going to be stress and worry in every day. And you just have to understand that for you to get past that, you have to assess the situation, know what's going on, and be able to work through it.
Right.
And recognize it.
And how to cope.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's anxiety. That was one part of mental health well-being that we wanted to talk about, that we've both experienced in our life and in our family. The second thing we wanted to talk about was depression. And when I researched this, it was interesting, because they would have a myth of depression and a fact of depression. So I just wanted to read through a couple of them and share how it ties in with our family. A myth that hard work beats depression. So meaning, if you keep working hard, you're not going to be depressed. Well, that is false. They said depression affects nearly 1 in 6 people. So another myth is it's not really an illness. It's a serious medical condition. It is an illness. A fact, men fly under the radar, less likely to talk about their feelings, which that doesn't surprise me. I mean, I know my husband, her father, he's got this mindset, keep it in the family. We don't discuss private things, health matters and things like that. And that's just his way of thinking. Another myth, depression is just self-pity. People who have clinical depression are not lazy or simply feeling sorry for themselves. So
It's a real thing.
yeah, and you know what it says? Fact is, it can sneak up slowly. It says a myth is that if you are depressed, that you are taking drugs for the rest of your life. No, that's not true. This one,
So I'll go. Sorry, Mom.
this one hit home. Depression is part of aging. Older people may hide their sadness, and you know what? It is true. The fact here says depression imitates dementia. Depression can be the root cause of memory problems, and this definitely hit home because her grandmother, my mother-in-law, watched my kids, my 3 kids, when they were infants to the time they went to school. And she was probably in her early 60s and she started watching them. Had Melissa first and Mark came along 2.5 years later. So she had Mark and Melissa. She would take them for their well checks. She would take them to the doctor if they were sick. She was amazing. And then after Mark went to school, Mark was 6 years old, then I had Michael. So she started all over again. The kids were her life. And after Michael got old enough and didn't have to go to school anymore, she didn't have anybody to take care of. And she just became lonely. And my husband and I tried to give her different options. Why don't you do this, you know? And she was a lady who had her mindset. And the sadness is that she did become depressed. And she was so lonely. And then dementia set in. And it's just sad. So I watched that because she recently passed away. And I just kept saying to my husband, I don't want to end up like that. I don't want to become, she was very sedentary. She didn't want to go out. She wasn't a person who exercised a lot anyway. But she just stopped living basically. And it was sad because she was so depressed. And she masked it and tried to be not depressed in front of us, but she really was. And who knows, maybe an antidepressant would have helped her. I don't know.
And what I was going to say with depression will slowly sneak up on you. After I had each of my kids, so before I had Kennedy, my first girl, I had depression when I worked at the pool. And I didn't realize it at all. I was like, why am I so emotional? And just, I wanted to sleep all the time. I didn't want to talk to anybody. And once I realized it, then I actually went and got help. But then I had depression or postpartum baby blues, what they call it, after both of my kids. First time with Kennedy, it hit me hard. Like my mom came into my house and was like, why is it so dark in here? Like all I wanted to do was be in the dark. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I just wanted, I was bonding with my firstborn, but it was also so overwhelming, I think, because she was also in the NICU for 10 days. So that was hard, and just transitioned to being a new mom. So when I had Reagan, I already anticipated, okay, I had this the first time, I'm going to be aware of it the second time. It did come on, and I went and I asked my doctor about it, and I got help for it. And I am so glad that I was able to realize it and recognize it the second time that would have been my third time of depression. But that second time with my kid, because the first time was extremely hard, and I know as a new mom, like, you don't wash your hair, you don't put makeup on, but I wasn't changing my clothes for like, it's a real thing, and people don't want to recognize it or talk about it, but it needs to be talked about.
And it's keeping with the depression topic. I remember after my mother passed away, which was very sudden, we didn't expect it. I think it was around my yearly visit to my doctor, and I told him, and he was quick to say, do you need it? And let me give you a prescription for an antidepressant. I said, no, I don't need it. And he goes, well, just take it, and if you need to fill it, then you can fill it. But I never did, because I never thought, oh, no, I'm not depressed. I'm just going to deal with the loss of my mother, which was incredible. And then by the time my father passed away, we had anticipated it. But, you watch the death process, just like with my mother-in-law. But when it finally happened, it's like, it's hard. And it's just something to go through. And talking makes things, a myth, talking makes things worse, guided discussion. No. If you, like Melissa said, if you can say, you know what, I need help, and just talking to your parents, whatever, isn't enough, you need to go seek medical, professional help. It's amazing. It is amazing. I mean, I went to a therapist years ago, and I stopped, and then I hooked back up with a therapist last year, and it just, because I am so type A, I go in with my list, and I make sure, because I'll forget what I want to talk to her about. And then at the end, I'll always say, okay, what do I got to do? You know, tell me, what do I do? And, you know, she'll go through scenarios, but it is so nice because I brought up stuff in with her on my mind, that's on my mind. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I can't believe I talked to her about that. And she doesn't bat an eye like, oh, Donna, you're so weird. Nothing, because she's heard all this. Yeah, she's heard all this, and it's like,
this is their job. They have a profession. And this is what they are, therapists, they're meant to do. Psychiatrists, that's what they're meant to do. And,
right.
And to piggyback off you, because when I give my testimony and tell you guys my testimony, which will factor into the OCD, because that has been the most recent thing for me, but it's so nice to just talk to somebody about it, because I can talk, I talk to my mom about it all the time, but when you go to somebody who doesn't know you, and not that you pass judgment, but but somebody who knows absolutely nothing about you, and this is their job, to listen to you, observe, and then give you feedback. It's nice.
Just comforting.
It is, yeah. It's very, very comforting.
So that's the depression topic, and the last one we're going to talk about is living with obsessive compulsive disorder, OCD. And I'm just going to start by saying, you know, it's interesting, because people will say, oh, you're so OCD, you're so OCD. Obsessions, I found this online, obsessions are unwanted thoughts, images, or impulses that an individual experiences over and over again. They're often disturbing and cause tremendous anxiety. People may develop rituals such as checking, arranging, or repeating things that makes it feel right. And I've never been diagnosed with obsessive compulsive disorder, so I'm not saying I'm a pro. But it's interesting, when my sister and I were younger, my sister had this ritual where she used to check on the top of the door, the door in the house, thinking there were snakes there. And I would look and watch her and think, okay, are you done? She would just go through this routine. And after a while, in the beginning, I would joke about it and say, you're crazy, you're crazy. But I saw that it really bothered her, so I let her go through her ritual because it made her feel good. Another big thing with the OCD, when I read, was contamination. This is the most important, most common type of OCD. And individuals obsess over contracting a disease from objects, places, or people. Some myths about OCD. Everyone is a little OCD. Wrong. I was at the bank last week talking to one of the tellers, and I was saying we were going to do an episode on mental health and OCD. She goes, oh, I'm so OCD without being organized. And I think people just say that, but they really don't know what they're saying. Unless you've been diagnosed with a disorder, you're not OCD. You may think you have some of the traits or tendencies that people who are diagnosed with OCD have. I mean, there are certain things that I do that I have to have certain things in place. My husband, on the other hand, has never been diagnosed with this, but I'm almost positive if he went to a psychiatrist, he would be diagnosed with obsessive compulsive disorder. There are certain things that he does that he has to have as routine. And we went to the therapist, and she said, it sounds like you are, you know, a little, obsessive compulsive about certain pens. Like, for instance, my son would say, Mom, why do we have to have like 15 pens in the kitchen? We're standing here at the counter, we got our pens lined up, and then you go over here by the phone, and there's 6 pens. And the therapist would say, well, that just makes your husband feel that things are in order. He needs that kind of, and so things like that. But till this day, my husband has not been diagnosed with obsessive compulsive disorder.
And for me, that was the most recent thing that I went through. I went through the OCD, which led to a very high level of anxiety. When I was pregnant with Reagan, I went crazy, like my mom said, with the contamination stuff. I would wash my hands just so much to the point, and I have eczema, so to the point where I'd be so dry and I'd be rubbing my hands, and I didn't care, and they'd be
they were raw.
They would get raw, and they sometimes like they would bleed, and I didn't care because I wasn't gonna get help, even though I had been to a psychiatrist. I hadn't been to a therapist before, but I had been to a psychiatrist before who gave me medicine. But I figured now I was at the point where I've already been on medicine enough in my life that I didn't want to rely on it again. So I wanted to fix myself. And I would say I was probably like that for a year. I had my baby, and then still I went into, one of my biggest fears was driving. And I won't go into too much detail, but driving was really hard for me. Just getting in the car and out of my driveway, just the amount of times that I would have to look at the garage being closed or pulling out, I would overanalyze everything. And my mom would tell me, you need to go talk to somebody, because I would tell her everything, and you need to go talk to somebody, you need to ask somebody for help. And I was very set in my ways, and I did not want anyone's help. And what I realized is I had said to myself, I'm okay living like this for the rest of my life, because I'll figure it out. I want to be a good mom for my kids, I want to be a good wife, but I wasn't taking care of myself. I was at a place in my life that now I can look back on, and I'm happy that we're able to tell our story, because I'm just hoping this helps somebody recognize maybe something that they're going through and ask somebody for help. But you don't have to live.
And I think
like
a lot
this.
of your pregnancy, she had so much, she was so worried during her pregnancy, especially the second one. I think a lot of that had to do with the obsessive compulsive disorder.
Yeah, and I had, with Kennedy, I developed preeclampsia. So with my second, it was already on the radar. You could get this again, and I did, and that's why I worried about everything, and I let fear literally control my life. And maybe we can go, my mom, and this is just a really quick sidebar, but my mom and I are going to be starting a blog, and we would love to go more into detail so that you could read a little bit more about our story. But you want me to give my...
Well, just go on with that you went and got help.
So I finally went, I listened to my mom, and I believe that was God telling me, through my mom, you need to go get help, because like I said, I wanted to do it by myself. So I went and got help, and I went and saw a psychiatrist. I was prescribed medicine. It took me almost 2.5 months, almost 3 months actually, to finally get on the dose that was good for me. Now I'm on a great dose. I feel great every day. Do I have days that are a little harder than others? Yes, but I'm in a great place with my mind. And then to piggyback on that, my psychiatrist had said, you should go see a therapist. And my mom was also saying that too, you need to go talk to somebody. So working through OCD, my psychiatrist told me the best way is not to just be on the medicine, but to also go and talk through all of these OCD tendencies or anxieties that you have. And so I went and, oh my gosh, I found the best therapist. But I've been able to talk about everything. And I remember going in the first day, I had a list like my mom, and I was like, this guy is going to think I am crazy. Like the things that I had said, I was like, I was too embarrassed. Like I'm getting goosebumps right now, because I was so afraid of being judged. And I'm so glad we started this channel, and I'm so glad we started an Instagram platform, because us talking about this is not only like us letting you into our lives, but it's allowing us to grow as people and share our story and help others. Because I remember telling my therapist, like, mental illness is looked at like it's not a big deal, or it's not a real thing. But so many people deal with it, and I think so many people try to deal with it like I did on your own. And you don't, I don't want to get emotional, but you don't have to go through it alone. There are resources, there are people that can help you, that you can talk to. And I remember saying to myself, I'm going off on a tangent here, but I remember saying to myself, I didn't want to be on medicine again because I just didn't want to be medicated, but it's what I needed. Where I am now, I feel I am in the best place, mentally, physically, I would say, and also like spiritually with my relationship with God. But all of it put together brought me to where I am today, and I'm so glad she pushed me to talk to somebody, because if I wouldn't have, I'd still be trying to live with it on my own. And if I can give you one piece of advice from me is, if you are feeling this way, go and talk to somebody.
Going to your therapist every week, basically.
Every week for
the summer, right?
Yep.
So that could have been something she put in her summer favorites, her therapist.
Yeah.
But
it is one of my, and I'll say it right now, that going to him has been just the best blessing, and has helped my life, because not only do I want to show other people that it's okay to have mental health, like it is okay to have a mental health illness, but you can work through it. Right. You can go get help, and I want to show that to my girls.
Right, and one of the things that I read says one of the first steps to managing OCD is taking symptoms seriously. There's no shame in asking for help.
No shame.
Yeah, and then one other thing that I thought was interesting, it says OCD is a third person in a marriage. So if you're in a marriage and you have one of the people in your marriage, the spouse, who might be OCD, whatever, you, the person suffering from OCD, and it's just like it's a third person in the marriage. So this is something that's real. It's happening around us. It's happening in our life. And we just thought we wanted to bring it out there to the forefront,
bring awareness
to let you know that it's just, you never know what people deal with, and
that's a good way to put it. You never know what somebody is going through. They could, on the outside, you could totally assume that, oh wow, they have the best A, B, and C, but you have no idea what somebody's going through and what their journey is. So we hope from this video you can use it as a resource. If you want to comment below and talk about anything, or on our Instagram page, we're going to be posting from now moving forward, since we have talked about mental health awareness, we are going to be posting different things about it. Maybe even like different strategies on how to deal with stuff, or different resources to use. But we hope that this was a good guide for you, and that you got something out of it. And
just remember,
it's seriously okay to be you.